Do you eat turkey for Thanksgiving? Does that turkey come from the grocery store or maybe raised by a local producer and the meat comes from a large broad-breasted white bird? If so, I have an interesting fact that many consumers don't know, but it is pretty interesting and something that most people are not aware of. Today's agricultural fact for Friday, November 15th. Today's large-scale farm-raised turkeys for Thanksgiving are produced through artificial insemination. The broad-breasted white is the type of bird commonly sold in grocery store chains, in addition to some small-scale producers also raising them. And they are too large and heavy to mate naturally with each other. So the breeding farms must conduct artificial insemination. Unlike AI and other species, they do not usually freeze and store the sperm in liquid nitrogen. It is most commonly extracted fresh on the farm and then deposited into that hen a few moments later. Typically, I would do this next week, but I needed a little bit of extra time after coming back from my 2-day trip absence of school, catching up on some things. So I asked my Intro to Ag kids if they would be interested in watching the Dirty Jobs artificial insemination episode on turkey production, and they said yes. And honestly, they didn't complain at all. They thought it was fascinating, which usually there are a few kids that are like, oh my God, I can't watch this is disgusting. So if you've never seen it before, it is very educational. And of course, Micro, he's got a great sense of humor. If you are an ag teacher and you've never shown this in class, I do highly encourage it. Some years I will show it in every single class that I teach, except for my ag mechanics class, because those kids usually don't care. Other years I will show it in my dairy livestock production and management class, my Intro to Ag class, and then my 8th grade class. 8th graders, maturity level, sometimes I have to put a damper on the embarrassment and laughter. It is important though, especially if you are using this as an educational tool in your agricultural classroom, that you provide some information ahead of time. Because people that may not be familiar with agriculture may not know that artificial insemination is a practice that is commonly done in the livestock industry. And if they see this without having any sort of pre-explanation, they may think that all of those involved in agriculture are sick and twisted individuals. But there is a reason and a purpose, and obviously when it comes to the broad-breasted white turkey, it produces the largest amount of white meat, which on holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas is usually the most desired type of meat that comes off of that bird. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people that prefer the heritage breeds of turkeys. They're smaller, they take longer to grow out, they're not as efficient with feed consumption. But if you are buying your bird from a grocery store, especially the heavily discounted ones, right? Those are loss leaders at Thanksgiving, and those birds are broad-breasted whites, and they are raised on large-scale turkey farms in the United States. One thing I will say though, for any ag teachers that are looking to potentially show this next week, Amazon Video got a little bit obnoxious when it came to purchasing. So I purchased this over 10 years ago when I first started teaching. I've been teaching, this is year 13, and I purchased this on Amazon Video, and it was only a couple of bucks. Now when you go onto Amazon Video and you look up Dirty Jobs as a season, or you look up the entire show and it has the drop-down menu of all the seasons, you don't have the option to purchase a season or specifically an episode anymore. It asks you to get a subscription to Max. So if you are looking for the season that it is, it's season 3, episode 11, and it is titled Turkey Inseminator. If you Google it, you may be able to find other places to get it from, or you potentially could buy the DVD, and like if you're a teacher and you plan on staying in the classroom for a long time, just purchase it and then you have it on hand every year when Thanksgiving rolls around. And the kids do find it interesting because, like I said, the standard consumer is not aware of this. They don't give any thought to how that bird came to be or what has to happen in order for it to exist. Also, side note, totally unrelated to turkey artificial insemination, I am considering starting a mini series on parliamentary procedure principles and practices because there are a lot of people that just don't understand them, and they are sitting on boards like the Board of Education or a community board or a town board, or they're in some sort of leadership organizational position and they just don't know. This is something that I teach so many times over the course of the year. I incorporate it into my Intro to Ag class every single year, and I always touch base on that with my 8th grade Ag and Natural Resources class, because there is a contest in FFA it's called Conduct of Chapter Meeting, and it's like a mini version of parliamentary procedure, but it goes through what a second is, why you need it, what is the main motion, what type of votes you need, why some votes are not always majority votes and they're 2/3 votes. So I may consider that. If you may be interested in learning more about parliamentary procedure and how to properly run a meeting, comment on this so that I know that there's a demand for it, because I don't want to just be making these videos for them to fall on deaf ears and nobody actually wanting to learn anything from them.